Joe Biden said President Trump is an embarrassment for not already conceding. Fox News continues its fall among conservatives. Plus, the left calls for unity while actually trying to blacklist Trump supporters. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is the 13-Minute News Hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. Happy Wednesday. I hope you're having a great week. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start with Joe Biden because he actually had a press conference yesterday, and I think it's the worst press conference I've ever seen, and more proof that journalism is dead because these so-called reporters, they were falling all over themselves for the honor of being in the same room with Joe Biden. There were no tough questions. It was just pathetic. And then the whole press conference itself was something that I've never seen before. Joe Biden called this press conference to rail against Obamacare being argued in the Supreme Court. Then to wrap things up, he didn't do like most people do and say, with that, I'll take your questions and start pointing at reporters. No, here is how the Q&A session started.
Now I'm told that we're going to have, we're going to take 5 questions. Is that about? Okay.
He was told that he's going to take 5 questions. Some voice off camera is running the show. He didn't even call on the reporters, folks. It was all scripted in advance. And to just show you how lame it is, here's the first question.
I wonder if you have a message for the president who may well be watching right now. And how do you expect to be able to work with Republicans when so many have thus far refused to even acknowledge your victory?
Now, that question started with this very deferential, thank you, Mr. President-elect, and then this monologue on how President Trump hasn't conceded yet. Votes are still being counted in Arizona. They're going to be recounted in Georgia, plus all the craziness that's going on places like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. It's just getting started. And yet they want to wrap this up already and blast President Trump. Here's another one.
I also wonder, you warned during the campaign that as the walls closed in on the president, he would behave more erratically. Yesterday, he fired his defense secretary on Twitter. Are you worried that he's disabling the government? And what are you saying to the world leaders who are calling you at this point about the situation here?
Wow. So you can see how this is going. Basically, the whole idea of this press conference is to ask Joe Biden how he feels. How does he feel about the fact that President Trump is this mean, nasty, racist, arrogant loser of a guy? How do you feel about that? Here's the next question.
Mr. President-elect, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has suggested today that he may not recognize the outcome of this election until the Electoral College meets next month. Have you spoken to your longtime friend in the Senate, Mr. McConnell? And what do you make of his specific comments over the last 24 hours?
That's some hard-hitting journalism right there. I mean, this is journalism at its best, right? I bet Joe Biden is actually shaking for fear of what the next tough question will be. Here's another one.
Thank you, Mr. President-elect, and congratulations to you both. Have you tried to reach out at all to the president? And if he is watching right now, what would you say to him?
This is just unreal. Now, following her questioning, Joe Biden did throw out this gem.
I think the legal action is, you're seeing it play out, the actions he's taking. And so far, there is no evidence of any of the assertions made by the president or Secretary of State Pompeo.
No evidence. The Trump campaign has over 100 affidavits in just Michigan alone. They are just digging into all of this, and the more they dig, the more they find. Joe Biden it's just outrageous that he would say that knowing it's not true. And then here's another question.
Sir, what do you say to the Americans that are anxious over the fact that President Trump has yet to concede and what that might mean for the country?
Yep. In the year 2020, this is an example of journalism. This press conference will probably be studied at the Columbia School of Journalism on how things are done in the year 2020. It's state-run media, folks. They are all in for the Democrats, all in for the left, and Joe Biden has nothing to fear going up against these guys. It's outrageous. And then he comes back with this final slam at President Trump.
Well, I just think it's an embarrassment, quite frankly. The only thing that, how can I say this tactfully? I think it will not help the president's legacy.
President Trump is an embarrassment for not conceding. He has every right to go through this, especially with so much screwiness out there and so many states that are so close. But they want this voter fraud investigation to be ignored. In fact, the Democrats in the media expect it to be ignored because that's what most Republicans do. They just walk away with their tail between their legs and go hide. They don't fight it. President Trump is fighting it. And win or lose, this kind of election fraud, voter fraud, ballot manipulation needs to be investigated. And I'm all in for President Trump using every legal means necessary to find out what's really going on. So next, let's talk about the fall of Fox News. But first, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified. We're making our push now for 150,000 members, and we can do it with your help. All right, so on Monday, I laid into Fox News, folks. They have gone so far left. They continue this drift left, and they aren't getting it. They don't get the message. On Monday, Kayleigh McEnany held up press conferences talking about all this voter fraud. And as I mentioned, over 100 affidavits in Michigan alone. She pointed that out. She pointed out the cases of officials in rooms being ordered by their bosses to backdate illegal ballots. Ballots that were invalid, backdate them to make them legal, make them valid. That's what they were ordered to do. That's what they've signed on. And yet the Democrats and the media say there's no proof. Her whole press conference was about the proof. Here's part of it.
One party in America that opposes verifying signatures, citizenship, residency, eligibility. There is only one party in America trying to keep observers out of the count room. And that party, my friends, is the Democrat Party.
McEnany is absolutely right. Democrats have fought the court order allowing Republicans to observe. They actually do not want Republicans to observe the vote count, tabulation, sorting. That's just a fact, folks. That's what's going on. But here's what happened on Fox News.
We want every legal vote to be counted, and we want every illegal vote to be...
I just think we have to be very clear. She's charging the other side is welcoming fraud and welcoming illegal voting. Unless she has more details to back that up, I can't in good countenance continue showing you this.
This is just insane. What happened to we report, you decide? Now, Fox News is making the decisions. That's what they call their vote calling area, the decision desk. Now they are trying to decide for you. They're going to cut away so that we don't get unfiltered information from the Trump campaign to make our own decisions. It's outrageous. Then you have this open mic moment where it just shows the arrogance of Fox News because they had already called the election for Biden.
Over whoever is decided to be the president. Remember, just because CNN says, or even Fox News says that somebody's president doesn't make them president. So I think everybody wants to know that this was done properly and legally.
What is happening? Like, Trace, we've called it.
And I think we have to look into.
Yep, Fox News called it. So how dare anyone question them? How dare anyone proceed to look for voter fraud? How dare President Trump continue and not concede yet? Because Fox News called it. Biden is the guy. How dare anyone think differently? Man, that sounds like 1984 George Orwell stuff. It's outrageous. So if you're looking for an alternative to Fox News, why don't you check out Newsmax? In fact, go on there tonight in primetime on the Stinchfield Show, 7 to 8 Central Time. I'm going to be on there. I'll be a guest, I think around 7:45. So check it out. Newsmax is awesome. Great production quality, great hosts and guests. Well, not including me, but they're good. They're growing like crazy right now. So please check them out. So next, I want to talk about this call for unity that the Democrats and the media are trying to do. Everyone come together. And it's so bogus, folks. I gave some examples on Monday. There are even more now. And the thing you have to remember, do not forget this, is that when the Democrats call for unity, what they really mean is fall in line. That's what they mean. Don't talk back. Just follow us. Keep quiet. Sit in the back of the room. Don't say a word. We are going to move forward. They don't care about unity. We saw this. They're already trying to go after Trump supporters as some other people are calling for unity. Here's AOC on Twitter. Is anyone archiving these Trump sycophants for when they try to downplay or deny their complicity in the future? I foresee decent probability of many deleted tweets, writings, photos in the future. Wow, that's some tolerance and inclusion. And then CNN's Jake Tapper, he took it a step further, basically implying that your job may be in jeopardy if you're a Trump supporter. Here's Tapper. I truly sympathize with those dealing with losing. It's not easy, but at a certain point, one has to think not only about what's best for the nation, that's left-wing code right there, peaceful transfer of power, but how many future employers might see your character defined during adversity. So yeah, like I interjected right there, when they say what's good for the nation, they don't mean that. They mean what's good for them. Going through the process of looking at legal votes, doing these legal challenges is built in. We have a time to do that. So what's best for the nation is to make sure we have free and fair elections. If there's anything, folks, that has been pointed out during these last week or so, is how fragile our republic is. We depend on free and fair elections. And if we allow voter fraud to happen, if we allow these cities to pack votes, and we'll see what happens, or machines to change votes without challenging it, we are at risk of losing our freedoms because the left wants control and they will do anything to get control. And then there's Jake Tapper telling us basically, be quiet, don't say anything because your jobs could be on the line. And then, of course, there's Michelle Obama and her great series of tweets calling for unity. Let's remember that tens of millions of people voted for the status quo, even when it meant supporting lies, hate, chaos, and division. We've got a lot of work to do to reach out to these folks in the years ahead and connect with them on what unites us. Again, she doesn't care about uniting. She calls out lies and chaos and hate and division. That's not going to bring people together. They don't want Trump supporters. They want everyone to be quiet and let the left just steamroll over everything. And it's so blatant in these statements by Obama and Tapper and AOC. That's what they really think, folks. And you have others trying to calm that down, but that's what they really think. So next, let's talk about Antifa, because there is a powder keg brewing, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because all summer long, the Democrats were more than happy to let Antifa run amok. And why? Because it was furthering their agenda. The chaos, the rioting, the looting, the vandalism, the assaults, the injuries, all of that just helped their cause to put President Trump on defense, they thought, by having all this mass chaos going on and having people blame them, blame the administration, blame President Trump. But he stepped up and it ran this law and order campaign that resonated with people, even in the black community. That's part of why his support among the black community rose during this election, because of law and order. But the Democrats wanted Antifa, they wanted that chaos, and now there is a monster ready to be unleashed, because the Democrats did not create Antifa, but they sure did capitalize on them and put them in a new spotlight that they really hadn't been in over the summer. So now there's no way Antifa wants to step out of that spotlight. And if the Democrats don't fall in line, watch out. And here's the story. A marauding gang of Antifa Black Bloc militants in Portland vandalized the local Democrat Party headquarters at a violent anti-Joe Biden protest on Sunday. While anticipated mass violence failed to materialize across most American cities, Portland has experienced 5 nights of unrest since Election Day last Tuesday. In the latest instance of political violence, Black Lives Matter Antifa protesters announced and gathered for a direct action on Sunday night at Laurelhurst Park in southeast Portland. There, the group of several dozen militants in black uniforms marched to the Multnomah County Democrats building, where they proceeded to vandalize the office. They smashed most of the windows and tagged the building with anarchist and BLM graffiti. Wow, an anti-Joe Biden protest from Antifa. And this is what the Democrats wanted. This is what they condoned all summer long, never speaking out. Joe Biden never spoke out. None of the Democrats spoke out at their national convention when they had the national spotlight. It was only until later, After the polling showed that, guess what? Americans don't like all this violence, then they spoke out. And Joe Biden has never denounced Antifa at all. Look at what they're creating. Look what they have to deal with. Folks, that's our show for today. And don't forget, tonight, around 7:30, 7:45 Central Time, I'll be on Stinchfield on Newsmax. Check that out. Should be great. The show is awesome. But until then, please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified. And we'll see you next time. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour. Okay, friends, thanks so much for watching. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you'll be notified. And here's a special video just for you so you can watch even more of the 13-minute news hour. And don't forget to check out GOPUSA.com for the best in conservative news and commentary. We'll see you next time.